In this vlog, I'm taking a break from servicing the Mitsubishi Delica to talk to you about the New Zealand and Australia trip. And the reason for that is quite simple. I didn't really do a conclusion piece. Well, I did record one at Melbourne Airport, but it seems to have got lost, and I'm not entirely sure how that happened. But I can't let the series end without saying some massive thank yous. There's too many people to list, really, because I stopped with so many people, especially in New Zealand, but also in Australia as well. So thank you very much for your generosity. If you gave me a car to play with, gave me somewhere to sleep, fed me, or just took me on a tour of where you live to show me why you like it so much. It was an unexpected part of the trip. I kind of bet on doing some sightseeing and seeing some cars, but the people side of things really surprised me in a good way. And lots of Kiwi hospitality, but also very special hospitality in Australia. There are some people who deserve some special thanks. In New Zealand, I must say very, very big thanks to Stuart Noble for lending me the BX, to Chris for selling me Betty the Ford Fairmont and showing me some lovely cars where he works. And also he helped me do the changeover from the BX to Betty the Fairmont. I also need to say thank you to Gareth, who helped me improve Betty the Fairmont, fitted a new headliner, and also gave her a good buff on Christmas Eve, no less, just before I made my way back up New Zealand. In terms of people I stayed with who really let me just chill out and recover at times when I was really quite broken, definitely Ian and Sue in Wellington, and also Nick and Megan near Christchurch, Waipara area. It brings back the memories just mentioning these places again. It was just quite incredible. But those people in particular gave me somewhere to stay for several days to get my head back in order. I would have just exploded without you, so thank you very much. Who else? If we skip across, I mean, there are lots of people I stayed with all around New Zealand, so please don't feel hard done by if I haven't mentioned you by name. But jumping across to Australia, by the time I got to Australia, I was in a right mess. Again, just absolutely shattered. So special thanks to Max and Carol for putting me up in Sydney. I think I ended up spending 2 weeks with them. Watched a lot of tennis with Carol, shouted at the telly a lot during the Australian Open. First time watching the Australian Open in Australia. Max also let me play with his MGA Twin Cam and Rover P3, the videos of which you have now seen. And then I went to Tasmania. Lots of people to thank in Tasmania as well, but specifically Peter and Lorraine, who I stayed with first. Peter let me borrow his Subaru Forester. I've still got a report to come on that. And then Steve and Janine, who I stayed with near Hobart, and Josie, who also acted as a bit of a tour guide down there. Thank you so much. Hopping across to Melbourne, I've then got to say thank you specifically to Dion and Andrew for lending me a Chrysler Neon and a Holden Ute respectively. Also special thanks to Dion. Dion did a lot of work to find me cars. So the Cortina 6, the Austin Kimberley, Dion did a lot of digging around to find the cars, even though the cars were nowhere near him. So thank you, Dion. That is massively appreciated. And that probably wraps up the main thank yous. Looking back, it was so much more than I expected. I expected wonderful scenery. I expected different cars. But I don't think anything prepared me for just how different the cars were in New Zealand. So many JDM models we just don't get. Horopito motors, as mind-blowing as I expected. So mind-blowing I ended up having to record it twice. But yeah, staggering scenery, staggering people, staggering sights everywhere. Yeah, New Zealand was a special place. The Australia trip was a bit of an add-on, to be honest, because primarily I wanted to go to New Zealand, but it kind of made sense to go and see Australia, but I knew that was going to be a lesser trip, and to be honest, that ended up being pure work. I did so little sightseeing in Australia. I am going to have to go back. There is a lot more I would like to see. I liked Victoria very much, state down at the bottom of Australia, and also Tasmania. Tasmania is a wonderful place, and the people are so nice. I think in New Zealand, people are really, really keen to show you everything and say, isn't it brilliant? They're really, really proud of it. In Tasmania, they are proud, but they're not quite so forceful with it. They just kind of let you experience it and go, it's all right, isn't it? And it really is, yeah, more than all right. So yeah, it was just brilliant. Obviously, towards the end of the trip, things got a lot more difficult. The COVID-19 issue was starting to raise its head when I was in Melbourne. It was funny, the panic loo roll buying started in Melbourne, like my final week there. And I was laughing at the time, but that was before the virus had really reached the UK. So there was no social distancing or anything, no lockdown in place while I was there. Very, very fortunate, really, because the panic had kicked in. So when I went to Melbourne Airport, it was with a certain amount of trepidation. But by then, a lot of people had already decided flying was not a good idea. And it meant my plane back was almost empty. It was incredible. There was just no one on it. And I had almost an entire row, not just the 4 seats in the middle, but there was one girl in the window seat. And then that was it. I had the rest of the entire row to myself for the 14-hour, 40-minute flight to London. That's the biggest problem with Australia and New Zealand, getting there. Both flights were far, far from pleasant. I was so lucky on the way back because I did have so much more space. I wasn't just hemmed in all on my own in one seat, just sort of packed there. I can't sleep on a plane. It's awful. So I really didn't like that. But if I hadn't put myself through that, I wouldn't have experienced the joy and wonder of both countries. So I'm very grateful I was able to have the opportunity. And it really was remarkable. I look at the backlog of cars. I was recording so many cars, especially in Australia. It's been nice to have that backlog, obviously, because we've been in a state of lockdown here since I got back. And it's given me probably a bit of a break because I've just been quietly assembling those videos for your enjoyment, doing the odd sort of live stream, things like that. But really, I've had a chance to actually try and relax a bit. So it's probably good. It's forced me to slow down a bit. Now we're sort of easing out of lockdown, so I'm here with the cars again, trying to work out what I'm going to do with them next. These two, I haven't even woken up since I got back. I'm quite tempted to wake up at least one of them today, but they're kind of wedged in quite a lot at the moment. Ellie the 2CV, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with, I'm just going to get that screen back, what I'm going to do with Ellie. I was going to ship her over to Peak 2CV to sort out the rear brakes, but Peak 2CV is a long way away, and it isn't that specialist a job to get the rear brakes apart. I may yet have a go myself. I might even have a look later on today. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Took the Invacar over the other side. She's leaking oil everywhere, and her engine has been causing some concern. I'd like to do a compression test on it, but I think it's going to be engine rebuild time, so yank the engine out and give it a bit of an overhaul. But that projects like that and the Tercel here are really quite difficult for me to get my head around at the moment. Obviously my circumstances have changed. I live further away from here, now an hour and a half down the road, and I mean, by the time I get here I'm tired, and then I've got to make sure I leave here at a reasonable time to get back down to where I'm living. It's not ideal, so I might need to find another unit, or we're sort of pondering getting somewhere else to live which might have a garage. So yeah, everything is still up in the air, which means the bigger projects, the Invacar and the Tercel, are pretty much on pause at the moment. And one reason for getting the Delica was if I do get a new unit or somewhere else, I can hire a car trailer and drag the projects down to wherever they end up. But so yeah, it's everything's up in the air at the moment. I'm actually struggling to get my head back into working on car mode. It's really strange after so many weeks of being locked down and then being away for 5 months before that. It's a struggle to try and get my head in the right place, and I need to try and do a better job of that. So thank you for lovely comments as ever. It does help. And I know people are desperate for tinkering videos, and yeah, I'm desperate to get tinkering as well. We'll see what happens. We've done a City Rover update in a previous video, so that's hopefully coming along next week at the time of recording. But yeah, we'll see where we go. But anyway, really, this was just a summing up on the New Zealand and Australia trip. I do need to sit down and do a highlight reel like I did for Betty de Fairmont. That is something I'm probably going to try and do next week, because at the moment I'm tinkering, and that means less editing time. Also means less time catching up with the comments. One reason I've been able to keep up with the comments lately is because I'm literally sitting in the house twiddling my thumbs quite a lot. And yeah, that may be more of a struggle going forward, but I love your comments nonetheless. So yeah, thank you as ever for your support. Don't forget you can head to the HubNut store and buy HubNut goodies if you so wish. Working on some new designs, so hopefully something coming your way in a couple of weeks. Having a few issues with suppliers at the moment. Obviously everyone's struggling to do their work while some lockdown measures remain in place. Social distancing can be very difficult if you're a small company with not very much space. But I shall say thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Farewell.